Okay, continuing. Remember that when we were talking about this, when we were making a hypothesis, we were talking about the differences between populations. What you have to keep in mind is you're using a sample, not the population, to determine whether or not there is a difference in the populations. The reason why we have to be sure that we have this level of significance, this 0.05, is we're making a hypothesis, and we're saying that based upon the data we've gathered about this small sample, we think this is true of the entire population. Second thing, if you look at excerpt 10.14, you can see an example, and this is on page 242, where we have taken several t-tests and compared them. So in this group we have hypertensive people and normotensive, people, and it's comparing them on several factors: speed of cognition, executive function, etc., etc. You can tell by looking over on the right under the T-score, we had 222 participants because our degree of freedom is 221. The only non-significant comparison is between continuity of attention, and that means statistically hypertensive and normotensive people have essentially the same scores of continuity of attention. So their means are the same, 92 and 92. Everything else, those are significant differences, and you can also see the mean scores of those and see that, for example, the speed of cognition, that hypertensive people are higher, but on executive function, normotensive people are higher. So it can tell you a lot of things. For practice, we have this little short essay we're going to look about geography. I'm going to put this into the discussion board that you need to take a look at, and this will give you a chance to kind of go over some examples. So, and this is the article that will be associated with that. And what we're looking at is there's several research hypotheses here. And this is an example of a really good one where they've showed exactly what they are: their methodology, data collection, data analysis. So, on this as mean scores in practical geography achievement tests by gender, and this means that there is no significant difference between males and females because this number is not less than 0.05. So that cannot be rejected. So essentially their scores are the same. Here's another one, mean scores in practical geography. There is a difference between those who took science and those who took what's called a commercial curriculum. So this is a t-test. You can tell how many people we had in our group. And there is a significant difference between those. So I'll put this into the discussion board and you can take a look at that and get a better idea of how these work. They're really, really simple to read. One of the tests you'll come across is something called a test of homogeneity. This is a test which is conducted to determine if the scores in one group are distributed in a similar fashion. If you remember back to this, what we're getting at is if we have two groups and one of them looks normal, like let's say the males look like this group and the females look like this group, we can't really compare them the way that they are. We have to make an adjustment to the statistics so that we're comparing similar shaped groups, because we don't want the difference to occur because of who we happen to pick. We want to know if there really is a difference based upon the parameter or the variable that we've included. So what they will do is lower the degrees of freedom, which forces the computer to be more accurate, to be more sure that a difference can be attributed to the treatment and not the sample we choose. And it's called a Bonferroni adjustment. And basically, or there's another one that's called as Levene's. I'm sorry, I left that one off. It's called a Levene's adjustment, and it's looking to see if those two groups that you're comparing look the same. And that's what you're hoping for, is they do look the same. And if they don't, the computer will fix it. And you can just assume that a miracle occurs and it takes care of everything else. That's pretty much the basics of t-tests. You need to know that you can compare one group to a national norm. You can compare one group to itself, on two measures like a pretest, post-test, which is a dependent sample or a paired test. And you can compare two different groups on a measure. For example, you can compare females to males, and those are called independent sample t-tests. So that pretty much sums it up, and then we'll go on to the NOVA. Be sure that you go to the discussion board and participate in this geography. That's it.